Today we're going to look at a video about making an XY graph drawing. And this is going to be practice for plotting X and Y coordinates for your DEPCO digital manufacturing project. This will be worth 100 points, plus you have the option of earning extra credit. So it's possible to earn up to 110 points. Now, when we hand out the assignments, you may ask for the regular or the basic assignment, or you may ask for the extra credit assignment. The decision is up to you. Why are we doing this assignment? Well, digital manufacturing works on plotting the X and Y axis to tell the computer where to cut. The computer cannot figure it out on its own. If improper coordinates are put into the computer will cut those improper coordinates. So we not only have to learn to program properly, but we also have to learn how to test it and make sure it's working right. Once the creator or the human has created the entire program and got it to perfection, the computer can then operate it with success. This activity is to help you practice the concept, and hopefully practice is going to make it perfect when it comes time to do your digital manufacturing final project. Now, to review the project, you're going to get a sheet here in a minute that will look something like this. Now, the title of the sheet and the graphic on the sheet both kind of relate to what you're going to end up drawing, but you are not going to draw this item right here. It would be something that relates to trick-or-treating or masquerade, but it will not be the identical same thing. You are going to ask for an extra credit sheet, which this would be an extra credit sheet. It's longer. Or you might get the basic sheet, which will be a little bit shorter. When we read these, we always have X first and Y second. And on your sheet, it might be a good idea to go ahead and write X at the top and Y on the right so that you can remember that as you go along. You are going to plot these two numbers, then plot the second numbers, and so on until you get to the word stop. Once you get to the word stop, you will not connect that last number to any other number. Now, as you're working on your project and going through the numbers, you may occasionally come back and hit another spot. That's okay, but don't connect this to anything else at this time. You will read all the way down the first column. Notice once you get to stop, you're going to stop at each one of them. You're going to go to the next column and work your way down, and so on until you get to the very last step on the far right at the bottom, and that would be your last coordinate. Again, to review, everybody in the room is going to get a variety of coordinates. There is about a dozen different ones, so it's highly unlikely that you will get the same layout as somebody else. The code is always going to be X first, Y second. You will plot each point and then you're going to connect them. And when you're finished, a design should appear. Now, grading is not going to be on perfection, and you can have many mistakes on your assignment and still get a good grade. The particular graph paper that we're going to work on for this assignment has a center point that's 0, 0. And this is known as the origin of coordinates. And this location is going to be right in the very middle of the paper that we're working on. So this spot right here is 0, 0. Now this may vary depending on the task. The good news is we're going to start out with a more complicated situation, and when we get to our final project for DEPCO, we're actually only going to work in the positive area. So we're going to simplify things when you get to your final DEPCO project. Now, to help you, this graph paper has numbers every 2 spaces. Now, the numbers are very small and they're a little bit difficult to see. So you might have to just kind of get in the idea of looking. Here's 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on, and still give you a little bit of an idea of where the numbers are going to be that you're looking for. Not all graphs will do this. As a matter of fact, when we do our DEPCO final project for digital manufacturing, you're going to actually have a ruler instead of numbers. But we're starting out with this type of graph. The axes that we're going to be using are 2. We probably showed you a video already that can go up to 5 different axes. We're only going to be working on 2 for this project as well as the DEPCO digital manufacturing projects. The horizontal axis is the y-axis, and the y-axis will go from left to right. The vertical axis is the y-axis, and the y-axis are all of these lines that go up and down. One way to remember this is y is high. And if you have not already done this in your math class, you will before the end of the year. You're also going to see it on I-STEP, and you'll even see it throughout your high school career. So you might as well learn it in the 8th grade. Now, when we're talking about the x-axis, everything to the right of y is going to be positive x. Everything in this right half is going to be positive x. Everything on the left of the main y-axis, the 0 axis, is going to be negative x. It's very similar with the y-axis also. Everything above 0 or above the main x-axis is going to be a positive number. Everything below that is going to be a negative number or a negative y. Another way that mathematicians will divide this up is by quadrants. And the word quad, as you know from your STEM words, means 4. So we're dividing the graph paper up into 4 different areas. And you may want to mark on your paper off to the side if you have a number that has been given that is both positive x and positive y. That location must be in this quadrant. Now, we don't mark positive numbers. We assume that if it's not marked, it is a positive number. We only mark negative numbers. If it is a positive x and a negative y, it's going to be in the lower right-hand quadrant right here. Negative x, negative y will be in the lower left-hand quadrant right here, and a negative x, positive y is going to be in the upper left-hand quadrant right here. So by taking these numbers, negative x, positive y, and putting them off to the side, that might help you have a clue as to where your location will go when you're working on this assignment. Now, the rules that we're going to follow. The first one is pencil only. Engineers use pencils, and the reason is because we can make corrections. I am very strongly encouraging you to use pencil only. No pens, no ink, no crayons, no eyeliners, no markers, only pencil. And while these may sound silly, I have had students use them all. Failure to use a pencil will automatically be 1 letter grade off. The next rule is you're going to use mechanical methods, no freehand. What that means is use a ruler or use a straight edge and make exact, precise lines. A lot of times students will use their student ID as a nice straight edge to work on this assignment. Again, if you have uneven lines and they're not precise, it will be 1 letter grade off. So the main reason you will lose points is number 1, not using a pencil. Number 2, not making your lines precise. Making mistakes on your design will be lesser points off. When you get your graph paper, and I've cut this down so that we don't have the entire graph paper, but right here in the very middle, this is going to be 0, 0. I've also taken a small section of the graph coordinates, and I have that over here. Again, we start with the top and we work our way down. When we get to the word stop, we do not connect that last number. So we're going to look for, and it's not marked positive, but because it's not negative, we assume them to be positive. We're going to look for positive 3, positive 11. We're going to count over 3 spaces. We're going to count up 11, and I know that's 10 right there, so the next one is going to be 11. And I'm going to put a very, very small dot right there. Now this particular dot is way too big, but I want everybody in the class to be able to see it. When you're drawing on your graph paper, you want to make that dot much, much smaller. My next number is 0, 9. So 0 means that I'm going to stay on the X0, which is right here, and I'm going to come up 9 spots, 9 lines. That's 8, that's 10. So 9 has got to be right in between, and I'm going to put a very small dot right there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the dots. If you do not connect the dots as you go along, you're going to forget which dot connects to which dot, and your design will not be correct. Going over here, looking at my next number, again, X is 0, so I'm going to stay right here in the middle, and I'm going to go up 8. Well, I know that 8 is 1 less than 9, so that's going to be right there. I put a little dot in, and I connect the dots. I'm going to come over here to my next number, 1 and 7. So I'm going to count over 1 in the positive. I'm going to count up 7. Right here is 6, so 7 should be right there. Small dot, connect it. Right now it says stop. So I am not going to connect this dot to anything else. Now later, a line might come along and it might connect to that dot. But for right now, we're not going to do that. We're now going to go to the next one. Positive 7, positive 9. So 2, 4, 6, 7. And I'm going to go up to 9. And I'm going to put a small dot at that location. I'm going to come over, and my next number right here is 6, 5. Positive numbers, 2, 4, 6. And I'm going to come up to 5. And I'm going to make a small dot, and I'm going to connect those. I'm going back over here. My next number is 8 and 5. So 2, 4, 6, 8. 5 should be right here. And again, I'm going to put a small dot on, and I'm going to connect the dot. My last number before I stop is 8, 11. I've already at 8, so I just got to go up to 11, create the small dot, and then I'm going to connect those dots. And I stop right there. So what I have created so far are these 2 groupings. Now when you look at this, it looks like absolutely nothing. And that's the way the designers planned this. They were very devious in planning this creation. So you'll find that they might have numbers over here, then they might have coordinates over here, and then they might drop down here, and then over here, and they're trying to confuse you and make you think you're not doing the right thing. Have faith and count carefully, and you should be okay. As you go further along, a design will appear and it will be correct, or at least closely correct. Now to summarize, remember, X is first, Y is second. You want to work down the list and then over to the next line to the right. down that list, and then the next one to the right. Remember to use a ruler, a straight edge, or your student ID to connect the dots and create very accurate lines. Remember to work one dot at a time and connect that dot. If you put a lot of dots down at one time, it's very difficult to know which dot connects to which dot. Your lines should not be freehand. They should be mechanical, which means they're drawn very straight like this line. Freehand, while I exaggerated it, is going to have a lot of waviness to this, and it is very easy to see with somebody that's experienced in creating these things, and that would be me, and I'm grading your projects, so I will see these even if they're pretty small. Make sure that you use mechanical lines, not freehand. Now, in a few minutes, you're going to be getting a graph paper, and you're going to be able to choose a basic or an extra credit design that you will want to create. You're going to be working on these, and they will be due at the end of the period. Every day that they are late, you will lose 5 points or 1/2 letter grade off.